Is Warhammer 11th edition going to be fun for the kitchen table? That's my question as a dad who plays with my sons. Yes, I've played Warhammer at tournaments and I've played with some competitive people here or there, but by and large, it's me and my kids, sometimes my brother when he comes into town, and I have a friend who I knew a long time ago, and he's moving back into town, and we look forward to some games of Warhammer. But by and large, our games are kitchen table Warhammer. It's not at a local club or a local game store. I don't enter into tournaments, especially as a dad with 4 kids and a busy schedule. So we're playing on the kitchen table. As I grew up as a kid, I played in 3rd edition, 4th edition. I was playing on the floor. I was playing on a pool table around red Solo cups and whatever else we could scrounge around, toilet paper rolls. My oldest brother taught me how to do plaster and make some really cool terrain here or there, cutting stuff out of styrofoam, but never competitive. Now, with my children, I've been playing 10th edition, and it's been fun, and I've been teaching them some of the objective control rules. And when it comes to the secondary cards, I'll be honest, I don't have money for the secondary cards, but what I did was I went online, I looked up a few, and I 3D printed a table that we roll on for secondaries, and they match, for the most part, what the cards are, and we just get 3 victory points per secondary we accomplish. And there are things like bring it down, assassination, seize, hostile objective, deploy, teleport homers, all that kind of good stuff. So that being said, you got to keep in mind 11th edition isn't out yet. And this does come with a little bit of an understanding that we are not competitive. And that's who this video is for. It's for the dads out there playing with their sons. It's for the brothers out there playing together. It's for the husband and wife team that are, just enjoying Warhammer at home. So whoever out there, if you're more casual, that's what I wanted to look at. Is 11th edition going to be a fun change for more of the casual players? Forget the tournament scene. And what I've done is, because 10th edition isn't out yet, I have actually on Dwethia.com, this is the war game I'm working on making, down under other New Game Plus games, you can check out my Halo Black Crusade game. That video did not do well, but it's too bad because it's a free game for all you guys. Halo, it's going to be fun. You should check it out. Warhammer 11th preview. If you go there, I've aggregated all of the Warhammer articles, the Auspex Tactics videos, right? Amazing YouTuber, by the way. And I've put together all of the rules that I could find and all the screenshots I could get from the websites and articles, and all the rules put together as far as the changes we go. So, like, for example, the shoot phase, I don't have any different rule there. However, up by terrain, because we do have some changes when it comes to terrain, like the towering keyword, low terrain, cover, all that's under terrain. But, for shooting phase, I haven't heard any changes yet there. So there's nothing there much. For the fight phase, we've got some of the new fight rules in there. So this should be everything we have. The only thing I don't have is the new Astra Militarum detachments that just dropped. And I could easily add those. I just didn't have the time. I'm making this video instead. So my son and I set up a game of Warhammer, and it was Necrons versus Dark Angels, and we chose to play Incursion Battle, so 1,000 points, and we played it on, I forget what this is called here, but we played on this one on the right, Hammer and Anvil, I think it's called. Either way, we played on that one, and because we played on a 3 foot by 3 foot table, we made the deployment zone, instead of 18 inches, we just made it 6 inches, which just cuts right up to the back of that terrain there. And let me see if I have a photo for you. Okay, yeah, here we go. So this is from a Facebook chat called Dice Daddies. It's me and a bunch of my dad friends and my brother as well. As we play Warhammer, we share our battle reports with one another. So this is my best attempt at recreating the Hammer and Anvil. I tried to follow pretty directly that. I measured it all out, and the only difference is that 18 inches at the back. We cut that off down to 16 inches, and that's what we got. Now, the terrain I don't have specific terrain. I realized I don't have the exact terrain footprints, but most people, again, if you're casual, you probably won't, unless you go, you spend some of your kids' money to go buy it, because that's what it is for dads. Everything we spend on Warhammer comes out of our kids' mouths. So I don't know if that's true, but I did my best to recreate it, because I realized a lot of my terrain that I already owned fit very closely the footprint, so I could make pretty closely the footprint. So we played a game. We had a lot of fun. It was Necrons versus Dark Angels, 1,000 points. And I just used the Storm Siege detachment, which allows me to advance and charge. I've never played with that before, so I figured I'd try it. My typical army that I play against my son is Astra Militarum, because he has fun killing all the guard. But I thought, I painted up these Dark Angels. I'd never really used them against him. I have the Lion. Let's try it. He played 2 different detachments. He played Awakened Dynasty for his Necrons, for the majority of his warriors and Overlord and all that. And then he picked Hypercrypt for his Scorpex and his Reanimator, and which would allow a little bit of teleporting shenanigans with his Reanimator to keep it out of trouble, and with his Scorpex and his Scorpec Lord to give them some mobility. Again, we understand once 11th fully comes out, you might not be able to mix detachments this way, especially looking at the Imperial Guard. But seeing how, you have, when it comes to building your points, there's detachment points and enhancement limits and all that. So we might not have it correct. But, and again, I don't know if I was clear how to get here. Dwethia.com. You go to Dwethia.com and you go all the way down and you click on Warhammer 11th preview. It will bring you to this Warhammer 11th preview. And this is nothing special on my website. It's just everything that's public. I've collected it into one place for me, and I'm choosing to share it with you if you so choose. But we played the game, and ultimately how it went was really enjoyable. Now, on my picture, I ended up choosing for my son, he picked Determined Acquisition, which was it seemed a lot like the basic 10th edition, primaries where you're fighting over circles. And on our map, I ended up putting the circles down, but that was just to remind my son which terrain pieces were objectives and which were not objectives. So that was just there to be a healthy reminder for him. Hey, you see those little yellow lines? That's an objective. Don't waste your time over here. Though it was kind of cool because he was just playing basic one. And I liked that one for him because it was going to be his normal 10th edition mindset, what he's used to. Get on the circle, hold the circle. But this time it's get on the terrain footprint, hold the terrain footprint. He also really enjoyed, as a 13-year-old, he really enjoyed the idea that terrain was the objective. He really liked that. He felt it was pretty cool. And he had a fun time having his Necrons kind of take the terrain and everything. Now for me, I went with Death Trap because it matched well against Determined Acquisition. And this was kind of cool because I'm playing Dark Angels. And now I did not build a competitive list. I built the Lion because, Primarch, he's my favorite Primarch. In 3rd edition, or 4th edition, I was playing Dark Angels. So, when the Lion came out, I had to do it. And I bought the Companions. So my army was 6 Companions with the Judicar because I wanted to see how the Fights First ability would be impacted with all of this, so I thought he was useful. 3 Companions without a leader with them because I don't have the points for it. 5 Deathwing Knights with Belial and the Lion, right? So it's not a meta force. It's lacking some of the typical crunchiness. I think my son learning how to play against Knights is a good lesson for him because sometimes you learn don't shoot the Terminators, right? It's 250 points plus Belial makes it like almost 400 points that if he can just kind of avoid it, he can play points and win. But all in all, I thought that this Death Trap was really cool because I'm going around and I'm trapping terrain. And one thing that surprised me is you don't just trap. Basically, you complete an action on an objective, but also on a terrain piece. So I get 2 victory points for every terrain piece that I trap, whether it's an objective or not. I just happen to get an extra 3 victory points for trapping an objective terrain piece. So that's really cool. One question I had, however, was this middle objective is 2 terrain pieces put together, and I wasn't sure if I could trap both of those, and so I didn't. I just trapped one and counted it as 1 piece of terrain. But that was the difference between 5 victory points and 10 victory points. But either way, it was cool to go around and trap. I couldn't trap anything in my objective, in my deployment zone, but I could trap this piece of terrain up here, which was an objective, and then I could trap these pieces of terrain on my opponent's side, which was cool. And I wasn't sure if I could trap both of them, right? Can I trap the green and the yellow? Is that right? Because they're two different terrain pieces. I assume I could, but I only ended up trapping one just based on our gameplay. And so, yeah, we played this game, and as we played, it was highly enjoyable. It was really fun. Being able to deep strike within, and what I used was rapid ingress, but within 8 inches was actually really. It made a big difference. There were two big changes that made a big difference, and that was one. I rapid ingressed my Terminators right in the middle of his fire, dropped him there, and only being able to use one stratagem per phase made it where his move at the end of his movement phase, one stratagem rapid ingress. Now in his shooting phase, one stratagem armor of contempt. So that wasn't too bad. I was able to do that, but I couldn't do any command point re-rolls because I popped armor of contempt. So and then he had his Plasmancer there doing a lot of mortal wounds. So I used my once per game Watcher in the Dark he would have killed an entire Deathwing Knight, but instead the 4-up to ignore mortals once per game helped only cause 2 wounds to a Deathwing Knight instead. And then we got to this big charge. And what's funny is these companions, because I could move, advance, and then charge, it was a lot of movement on a 3-inch map. That is something I did not really think about. And those Terminators as well could move, especially the Lion. And so my companions, though, they had to stay outside of 2 inches, though they had plenty of movement to move, over the Necrons if that were to be allowed. And so I had to stop outside too, and I snake-eyed on my movement. And the thing that stunk with that is I had already used my CP reroll to I think what it is was I charged in my Terminators first, and then I went for the long charge with the Lion. I failed, and then I CP rerolled that so I could get over, and then I couldn't CP reroll this, and that would be the same for 10th anyways, because you can only CP reroll once per phase. But because I rolled Snake Eyes, that was a fail. Whereas in 10th edition, I wouldn't have even really had to roll. It would have been a guaranteed charge. So that kind of sucked because it was my first game with these companions. I was attacking a brick of 20 Necron warriors from the Awakened Legions, so they have the reanimation. They have the reanimation stratagem with a res orb, with a Technomancer, backed up by a reanimator. So I thought I really needed all of that, all of that swinging of my companions into them to wipe them. But I was blessed by the Emperor because these guys back here ended up making a 10-inch charge, and they charged all the way into the Overlord. So we had these guys charge on this side of the Overlord. The Knights came in here. The Lion was positioned here. And then what happened was we attacked, and my Deathwing Knights went first. They would have wiped out all of the Necrons. There were like 6 left, and then he popped that Awakened Legion stratagem and popped up his Necrons almost back to full. He got quite a few back up. And so then my 3 companions used their sweep profiles to wipe out the rest, and then one split attack into the Overlord. He whiffed. The Lion, however, had to use his turn to just take out the Technomancer. And then consolidation for victory. The Deathwing Knights moved 3 inches onto the home objective to take that. The 3 companions consolidated back towards this terrain piece to trap it on their next turn. And the Lion consolidated into another brick of warriors here, who was a Plasmancer, a Royal Warden, and a brick of 10 Necrons. However, because of the Royal Warden, my son on his turn retreated, shot me, and dealt a few good wounds because of that Plasmancer to the Lion. Now, what's really fun, and this is where some shenanigans comes in from the 2 different detachments, my son right off screen here had a reanimator that he put on the Hypercrypt Legion. So after I finished all my moving, attacking, and consolidating, he still wasn't in engagement range of anything. So he used his Hypercrypt rule to pick up his reanimator, and then later he was able to place him on my home objective, which I had all but abandoned because I don't get points for holding objectives. I get points for killing things on terrain that has been trapped, and I get points for killing for trapping things and killing things on trapped terrain. Right, so that's what I want to do. So I abandoned my home objective, abandoned my backfield, and his Hypercrypt Scorpex dropped in the backfield. He took my home objective. He took the other objective in my deployment zone. Not in my deployment zone, but on my side of the field. And that was a cool thing I noticed was the field is divided into, his side and my side. So he dropped Scorpex. He dropped a Reanimator here, and Scorpex he dropped here and here to grab both of these. And this would be an objective then. We treated this one as my objective. This is my objective, and this is no man's land. And I don't know if we did that right. But he gained a lot of points on that because his ability to play primary is he got 8 primary points for the round, for 2 for owning it at the top of his command phase, and then 6 for at the end of the phase or at the end of the turn for it being an objective, and then being an objective on my side of the field. So I thought that was pretty cool. He scored 6, and then at the top of his next turn, if he still held it, he scores 2. But that was pretty cool. I thought that was a really fun way to play Warhammer. All in all, what ended up happening is I did beat him. It was that detachment of the Dark Angels. It's a normal Marine detachment. It's the first time I ever played it. I think the Siege head, Spearhead, Assault, something like that. Essentially, it's the one that allows you assault and charge. So my first time trying it, I was like, let me try it. And my Terminators were making 10-inch charges. They were making not 10-inch charges, but they were moving. They moved 5, they advanced 5, and then they would make like a 5-inch charge or something crazy like that. Sometimes 10-inch charge. So what ended up happening is these Deathwing Knights all the way here on the home objective. As he was holding this objective here and this here with the Scorpex, the companions actually tried to attack the Scorpex first. It didn't go well for them. I think what happened is his Scorpex attacked me, and because they got the charge, my Judicars fight first meant nothing in this. So that was kind of poopy. And then from there on out, though, I did get to fight first every phase after that. But I only had 3 companions left. It was like 2 in a Judicar, and we failed our battle shock. So I had to pop Insane Bravery with my limited CP and then run. I ran, but the Deathwing Knights were able to make a huge swing back, and they were able to daisy chain charge all the Scorpex on this objective and the middle objective. The Lion used his Forest Walk ability to pop within 8 of the Reanimator on my home objective, which was now, right, just to show you guys where that went. So his Reanimator was here. I just Forest Walked my Lion as close as I could get within 8. I made, again, like a 10. My dice were spiking on charges and sometimes pretty terrible on the advancing for my companions. But yeah, Lion got right in, wiped that out. My Deathwing Knights wiped his Scorpex pretty easily, and then I scored maximum points for the last turn 4, turn 5. But all that being said, it was a great game. We had a great time. And I do think that 11th edition adds a few more tools to the toolbox to have fun with Warhammer. And that is something interesting that I've really enjoyed. I'm currently working on a 2,000 point all tank Imperial Guard list. In fact, actually, I think I can tease that here. I'm working on this. Oh, hold on, I'm not showing it. I'm working on this 2,000 point Imperial Guard list with 3 Basilisks, a Baneblade, Scout Sentinels, 2 Chimeras, filled with Catechins if I can, and then these Leman Russes. And so I think one of them is going to be a tank commander. And then I've got, but it's been really fun to kind of figure out the system of 11th and to follow the news and see what's going on. All in all, I think this is a good take for casual players. And the Warhammer conference, whatever it was, the live stream you watched, that was terrible as far as the quality. It said that we were going to return to kind of the competitive and the narrative. We're going to meet together in the middle. And all in all, I think it's pretty good. I think I like what we're seeing here. The hidden rule I thought would be useful for my companions. That's one other thing we didn't follow up on. And it was, turn 1, I was able to move my companions up on, so from my home objective, I just moved up on this objective. Oh, doing it again. I was able to move from my deployment zone up onto this objective, and I was outside of 15 of his Necrons, so they couldn't even shoot at me. And that was nice for some units that struggle. You know, these companions, I bought them because they sounded cool, and I was trying not to be too competitive with my kids, but, you know, my fear was that they would just get shot off the board before they even saw combat. So it does add a little bit more of covert stealth, and I do think that the primary missions for death, like this death trap mission, was a breath of fresh air, really fun, and I'm really excited to see all of these primary missions that come out, all of these new detachments that come out. The new Imperial Guard ones, of being able to take a Bane Blade as a character is pretty cool. So what do you guys think? Feel free, you know, if you want to come here. I know it's not actually 11th edition because it's not out yet, and once we see all the changes, it might be completely different, but you can taste the rules, right? It's kind of like when you go to an ice cream shop and you get a little spoon of ice cream and you're like, oh, I think that's good. And then when you get the whole scoop, you're like, oh, maybe that was too much of that flavor. I don't know. But at least you can taste, you can sample this website, Dwethia.com, scroll on down, Warhammer 11th preview, check out the rules, or find them yourself if you want. You know, it's no, my website is not ad connected or anything like that, so I'm not getting any money. This isn't for money. This is just to share some love with the community. Yeah, and then I want to try the punishment, but I'm curious. I didn't know, because I saw green and blue and green. I'm not sure if there's a completely different blue that you'd have for red. But all in all, very fun, very exciting. Limited stratagems is a good thing for the casual player, especially for my kids, because I'm constantly having to remind them of all the stratagems they have access to. And my son has learned some of them. He's still getting used to some of them. Like, he can resurrect a character after they die for Awakened Legion, and he's like, oh, I'll use that on my monolith. I'm like, no, that's not how that works. Let's look it up. Let's look at the stratagem. So, you know, limiting stratagem use is very, very smart, very, very good. As a casual player, I really like it. That has been my experience. Let me know what you guys think, right? And check it out yourself. So that's all I have for you today. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.